This week, Kempower announced a 24-stall charging hub outside the San Francisco airport in partnership with SkyCharge. The NEVI program got a little bit of life breathed back into it, courtesy of a federal judge. And Red-E, which is the station that I'm currently at, the CPO Red-E, added 114 stations to the alternative fuels data center database, basically doubling their size. Let's get into it. Okay, first off, I want to talk about the Kempower SkyCharge partnership that was announced. It was posted into LinkedIn, and it's a very beautiful charging hub that they have the renderings for. It has canopies, it has some kind of attached vending facility, and I believe there's a restroom tucked away in there as well. So 24 stalls right outside the San Francisco airport. Seems to be a growing trend with putting in charging hubs for rideshare outside of airports, because BP Pulse did so at LAX, BP Pulse did so at San Francisco at this airport as well, and they seem to be replicating that pattern throughout the United States. They did Boston Logan a couple of months ago, and anyway, it seems to be a growing trend, and this station really looks nice and a beautiful feather in the cap for Kempower. 24 stalls coming to San Francisco International Airport. There's not really indication of what the timeline is, but likely construction will be soon. I'd have to guess first part of 2026 if there was a speculation on my part. Next, Shell Recharge has been putting in charging hubs at select locations. I've seen a lot in Houston. There is one in southern Los Angeles in San Clemente, spotted under construction. There was another one in San Francisco spotted. Another one has just been spotted in the Los Angeles area, southwest of downtown in the town of Torrance. A new Shell Recharge, and what they're doing is they're not putting it into an attached facility like a gas station. They're greenfielding EV charging only stations, which is what they announced they were going to be doing a couple of years ago, and now they're actually following through with it. And I definitely thought this was greenwashing or vaporware, and it wasn't really going to start to happen, but they proved me wrong. They're going through with actually building these stations. And so the second one in the Los Angeles area has now been spotted. Okay, now let's go to this provider. They're called Red-E. They're based in Michigan, and they were kind of quietly in the news as a heavy NEVI recipient. And after NEVI kind of petered to a halt, they hadn't put anything into the alternative fuels data center database. And I did notice this station pop into PlugShare, and I'm like, oh, Red-E put in a station in Charlotte. And then they started to do these mass updates. About 2 months ago, I think it was, they put in about 60 stations in the alternative fuels data center database. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. But then they doubled up. This past week, they put in 114 new stations that they had completed, and then they put them into the alternative fuels data center database in some kind of batch processing. Now, these are mostly located in the two big states are Michigan, where they're headquartered, and Massachusetts. So for some reason, they have affinity to those two locations, but they're selling all over the place. As you can see, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm on Brookshire Boulevard, which is one of the main roads that goes into the center of the city, at a gas station, and it's just a single unit with two handles. Nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. And I don't know how they're selling these things, but they must have a very effective sales team, because these things are going in all over the place, and they basically doubled their size by adding that update to the alternative fuels data center database. Very impressive. And again, these are nothing to phone home about. I mean, sure, they're reliable chargers and everything, but it's not like a big mega installation. It's just two handles at a convenience store, and gets the job done. You know, if we have more of this throughout the United States, a lot of our charging problems would be solved. Next, Pilot Flying J has been continuing with their progress. There was a sleeper site that I didn't know about that suddenly opened. It's in Hudson, Colorado on Interstate 76, which is northeast of Denver. Nice location. And an additional one that I did have my eye on for quite a long time, in southern Arizona, south of Interstate 10, there's a Interstate 19 that goes to Mexico. And just before you get to the Mexico border, there's a town called Rio Rico, and there's a pilot station there. That one finally opened. It was sitting idle for more than a year, and then finally got spotted under construction, and now it's finally open. So south of Interstate 10, headed towards Mexico, in the state of Arizona, new pilot flying J charging station now open. Now let's get to what could be some of the biggest news, unless the Trump administration decides to put a wet blanket on it, that NEVI seems to be alive. A federal judge ruled, and this will go into effect next week, that 14 states need to have the NEVI funds released to them. And let me just rattle off these 14 states so we can kind of hone in on what might be happening here. It's Arizona, and this is an alphabetical listing of states. Arizona, California, Colorado, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Washington, and Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's got a lot of quick trip NEVI builds waiting in the pipeline. So if they get their money, builds are going to really start to balloon in Wisconsin. And on all these other states, obviously California has got a ton of NEVI. So should this occur, we could see a NEVI boom start to occur. And my personal opinion is it likely won't, because it's expected, every article that I was reading about this, and I read a couple of them, were saying that it's expected that the Trump administration is going to appeal the ruling. And then it'll go on in courts for a little bit longer, and then they'll go back and forth. Or what has not been uncommon with the Trump administration concerning judgments against them is they just simply ignore it because they're the executive branch, and the division of power sort of thing is what they start calling on. And I don't know the legalities of it. All I could say is that should the Trump administration wish to, they could appeal this ruling, or they could simply ignore it and the funds not get dispersed. But right now, a federal judge has ruled that the funds need to be dispersed starting next week. So we'll see what happens there. BP Pulse has, as I said at the beginning, been doing Gigahubs at airports. And there's been significant progress at the one outside of Chicago's big airport called O'Hare, or ORD. I've been watching this thing grow, courtesy of Jim S., a viewer who has been supplying me photos. And just this past week, what we're seeing are multiple canopies, a mix of Alpitronic and Tritium, very recognizable signage going in, and 40 stalls. So there's actually lines painted and the markings are down, and they actually indicate the stall number, and one of them says 40. So there's 40 stalls, mix of Alpitronic and Tritium, just as we've been seeing everywhere else, multiple canopies, and tons of things seem to be quickly getting completed at the ORD Gigahub. So I'm not sure when that would open. You know, we're approaching July 4th right now. I would have to say surely by Christmas, maybe as soon as Labor Day. And so it depends on how motivated they are and they get their permitting and the power delivered and all that fun stuff. So definitely something interesting to look at. Also, BP Pulse had their LAX load test. Let's bring in Eric Wei, who actually attended the event. Eric Wei from the News Coolum channel, who's now a frequent flyer here on the Autospec Bits channel. Just so much going on out there in California, and I'm sure that we'll be back in touch in the future because there's some of these really beautiful marquee stations, and it looks like California is starting to get their crown back for area of the country with the nicest charging stations again. For a while, it was kind of lingering, but you guys are making up a lot of lost time for sure. And Eric, I understand that you made the trip to the BP Pulse LAX Gigahub load test event. And can you tell us about the experience, what it was like to sign up for the event, and also what the actual event experience was like?
Yeah, so, well, I owe you one, Walter, because, I saw the link. I think you had posted the link up. I was in communication with someone from BP Pulse, and they had contacted me after the fact, but I had already signed up. So it's just it was just a quick email form. Basically, put it on your Google Calendar, and you're good to go. And I said I had a timing issue, but they want the whole day to 4 p.m. was the end of the event, and so I got in at the last slot, like the 3 p.m. slot, and so yeah, I just signed up and drove down and showed up, and they had a crew on hand there at the station, ready to help people out and guide them in what they needed to do, and it was pretty painless. Yeah, just pretty straightforward, and then of course it's a very impressive site. So.
Yeah, I definitely admire you, because I flew into, well, it was going to be LAX, then I got diverted to the what's it, Orange County Airport, the John Wayne Airport, and I wanted to go there just to see the darn place. It wasn't quite open yet for you to actually be behind the fence and actually see, because this looks like this has to be one of the most beautiful stations in the United States. I mean, I look at a lot of stations, but boy, the blue canopy, and it also has like an attached lounge. Is that correct? Or
Yeah, and so that's actually the interesting part, is the lounge wasn't open yet. So talking with the crew there, they're basically like, this is a load test. It's not the true ribbon cutting, which it sounds like they're going to be doing later.
okay,
And so they're like, well, the lounge isn't open yet, but they said, but the chargers were up. Everything was in the ground, up and running. So we're like, well, why not? Why wait? Basically, let's power everything up, get it open and available to the public. Let's do a sort of a load test here, invite people down to stress test the site. But yeah, so unfortunately, the lounge was not open, wasn't stocked or anything like that. So I didn't really have a chance to go in and check it out yet. So, but you're right. The site is just overall very beautiful. If you like the sort of urban kind of backdrop setting, you have these jumbo jets flying right in over the station and landing. It's a pretty cool location, and then really nice looking, just right off the street there. So,
so the hardware we could touch in just a second, but yeah, I mean, and also the whole concept of placing it right next to an airport where real estate is always prime. Normally we get put out in the sticks with our EV chargers, but this is right in the heart of it all. And, you know, as you say, eventually there'll be an attached lounge, and obviously made to order for rideshare folk to camp out in between fares, with good flow in and out of the property immediately adjacent to a rental car agency. So even if you want to rent a EV and swing in there and make a day out of earning some money at the airport doing rideshare, I mean, it's just a terrific idea, and the execution seems to be flawless, and ribbon cutting commencing at some point in the future. It's just, I don't know why I'm so excited about this site.
Yeah, I mean, I have some minor critiques about the site, but they're
Yes,
very minor. But you know, like even there at that load test, basically everybody that I interacted with that wasn't part of the staff were rideshare drivers. So they were already doing their regular routine, already doing their regular drive. And then this just is basically a convenient location right next to the airport where they can charge up now. And yeah, I expect, if I had to hazard a guess, I'd expect at least 2/3 of the people who regularly use that site will be rideshare drivers.
yeah. And once they turn the night lights on and start attracting rideshare folk like mosquitoes to a bug light, it's going to be swarmed, I would imagine. I'm not sure how many rideshare actually flow through LAX on a given night, but I'm guessing they're going to good portion of the electric travelers at least. So hardware, what did you see as far as hardware on site?
Yeah, so they had and I actually counted them out now, and I'll do it ahead in my head again. So they had 16 of the Tritium PKM 150s. So those are the split power 150 kilowatt units, and it doesn't, like, I actually, when I plugged my Bolt EV in, obviously I'm only drawing like 50 kilowatt, and that still caps the other plug on the Tritium to 75 kilowatt. So yeah, but because they are split power, that's 32 stalls just with the Tritium PKM 150s.
75 each, assuming they're fully loaded.
Yeah, 75 each, assuming they're fully loaded, and then I'd have to charge with a faster charging car to see what that really peaks out at for them, but it's probably 120, 130 kilowatt realistic speeds for faster charging EVs. But then on top of those 32 stalls, right, there's another 16 stalls that were supplied by 8 of the Alpitronic hyperchargers. So those are the true 400 kilowatt units. And that's probably my biggest nitpick with the site is, from what I can tell, all of the Tritium were CCS1, I believe. I didn't recall seeing a single NACS connector on any of the Tritium units, but all of the Alpitronic were NACS. There wasn't a single CCS plug on any of the 4 units. And I think if I was going to nitpick, I think that would be probably my big criticism. I really like the way they laid the Alpitronics out, though, because they did this thing where they plugged them, 2 of them in the center of basically 4 stalls. So any one of those 4 stalls could be, supported by any one of those 2 Alpitronics. And then I suppose if you got really spicy, you could maybe pull it over one more stall over, depending with the armature. So
so long cables, you can do a lot with those.
Yeah. So but like I said, I would love to have seen at least at this day and age, I would love to see still 2 native CCS1 plugs among those 4 Alpitronics. So that was probably my big criticism. And I wouldn't want to, the native Tesla connector, I think there should at least be some Tritium units with them. And I like I said, I just don't recall seeing any of the Tritium units with the native Tesla plug, the NACS J3400.
Even still, being able to christen what looks to be one of the marquee locations in the entire country, for sure, in the Los Angeles area. I mean, you all have the Rove charging hubs and some marquee Tesla ones and whatnot, but this has definitely got to be in the top tier list. And I would imagine if I was a Cybertruck owner, and I'm guessing there's 1 or 2 Cybertruck owners in Los Angeles.
I saw 3 or 4 on the road, so
I would probably want to charge at an Alpi with a J3400 handle just to get the additional juice while we're waiting for the V4s.
Yeah.
But, sir, I much appreciate it. I did watch your road trip videos where you went to and from. Very informative. Yeah. Everyone go check out Eric's channel and the road trip to and from. And I understand you're also going to do a standalone video for the Gigahub. Is that correct?
Yeah. I'll go over a little bit more of the details on there. Yeah, the pricing is decent for LA, or California. So I think they're right now listing it as 40 cents off peak, and then per kilowatt hour, and then 60 cents during peak hours per kilowatt hour. So that would be that 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. slot. So
very nice. Yeah, I just saw that Shell opened the hub in San Francisco. I think it was today, and they're charging $69 per kilowatt hour there with a $250 session fee. Which I know. I mean, San Francisco, but even still, that sounds a little bit.
Yeah,
that's a rough one right there. But
yeah, and then
40 cents in the middle of LA. That's bargain pricing.
Yeah, and then of course, like the one big criticism, and this isn't the site, this is BP Pulse overall. They do a $35 hold when you pay by credit card. So they're really pushing you to do an app. Then for this site specifically, they're really, really pushing you because apparently the lounge remains locked. So it sounds like it's open 24/7. It remains locked, and the way you get in will be through the BP Pulse app. So they're really going to be pushing. I think
to coattail someone with the app if you don't want to.
Yeah. So, but other than that, like this is amazing. We're starting to see a lot of these other sites. There's another one of these Gigahubs, a little less ostentatious, a little bit smaller, that went in at SFO, San Francisco International Airport. So I'll probably check that out pretty soon. And that's all Alpitronic, no Tritium, no overhead canopy, no lounge, but like that, like Shell, we have some really good like marquee flagship sites going in throughout California. So it's really fun to see.
Eric, Wei, much appreciated for sharing your experience with us. It's very exciting times.
Thank you so much, Walter.
Thanks, Eric, for adding that background color to a very exciting event at the LAX Gigahub. Beautiful site, similar to what was seen over at the Chicago location. Next, Love in Grayson's, Kentucky, near Cincinnati, opened up a new location. Now the PlugShare post doesn't show the canopy, or the PlugShare photos don't show the canopy, but there's a post indicating that there is a canopy there. They put in canopies at each one of their other stations, so it stands to reason that there is a canopy. And it's terrific to see Love's continue to make progress, despite the fact that they were heavily reliant on NEVI funding, but that doesn't seem to have slowed them down. They found a way to make progress regardless. So a new station opened underneath the Love's brand in Grayson, Kentucky, underneath the canopy. Next, Tesla is getting ready to open a 40-stall station in San Diego, and it's off Interstate 805 and I-8 in the Mission Valley area north of downtown. So 40 stalls, we're seeing V4 dispensers concentrated in a parking lot. Basically, they took over this parking lot, but really nice looking. And I'm sure the locals are going to appreciate it. Plus it being close to interstates, I'm sure it's going to be used by travelers as well once this thing opens. Very nice looking station. You can't sneeze at 40 stalls getting ready to open. Mercedes-Benz opened a station at a Buc-ee's in Baytown, Texas, which is east of Houston on Interstate 10. Although it's showing open in the alternative fuels data center database, they've been doing a good job of preemptively putting into PlugShare, hey, everyone hold your horses. Yes, it's showing open in the ChargePoint app and the alternative fuels data, but we're still commissioning this thing. So right now, this is in that phase where it's showing as active in the ChargePoint app and also showing as open in the alternative fuels data center database, but they're still commissioning it. They're kind of cleaning up the software. I don't know what they do. They probably download updated firmware for the devices. They put them through some kind of load test to ensure all the modules are working and everything. But right now it is still in the process of being commissioned and it is not fully open yet, but looks complete. And it's funny that this location, even though it's on Interstate 10 outside of Houston, which is a pretty active area for electric vehicle charging, no one seems to have posted any pictures of what the finished station looks like yet, but we know it is finished and energized. Lastly, ChargePoint opened a really nice looking 6-stall station at an In-N-Out Burger in Redlands, California, east of Los Angeles. Thanks for watching.